Hi, I'm Wesley Ferreira, clarinet professor at Colorado State University. And today I'm going to discuss ways to help you to prepare for this year's Colorado All-State Band and Orchestra audition. In this video, Rose's Etude number 8 will be our focus. When preparing for an audition, it's important to try and determine what the particular musical selection chosen is meant to highlight. Rose's Etude number 8 is marked allegro, meaning that it should be performed quickly and with great energy. Coupled with the suggested tempo marking of quarter equals 108 for your all-state audition, it's clear then that this etude is meant to display more of your technical proficiency. And as with all technical etudes, if you begin preparing early, you will be able to master many of the challenges contained within it. With all good clarinet playing, using good practice techniques will be the key to learning this etude properly and doing your best come audition day. Let's go over some important and basic concepts to keep in mind when preparing this etude. I suggest that you first learn this etude by playing it very, very slowly and evenly with the metronome. Have the metronome click eighth notes at 72. Now, this is going to feel very slow for you at first, but remember that the key to learning and executing anything technical is to play it correctly many, many times without mistakes. By practicing slowly and increasing the tempo of the metronome gradually, you will be building and solidifying skill and speed. Each time you play a passage correctly, myelin wraps around the neural circuits in your brain, allowing them to fire more easily and rapidly. Start at eighth note equals 72 and increase the tempo little by little each day. Make sure that you're always playing the correct notes and that you're always connecting these notes to create a longer line. Listen to your tone. It's at this early stage of your practicing where you need to reinforce great tone and clean articulation, free from tension. And be patient with your progress. Record yourself every day and let your own ears be a guide as to whether you are ready to move the tempo to a faster click of the metronome. Be conscious of your finger movements when playing too. Ideal finger movement for playing the clarinet is for your fingers to be relaxed, and when they're relaxed, they naturally curve. Lift all of your fingers from the back knuckle, and be sure to stay close to the keys so that your finger movement is efficient. Do not lift too high. While in this early phase of practicing, be sure to use appropriate fingerings as well. Avoid sliding between keys of the clarinet. This means that in measures 21, for example, you should play the third space C natural on the left side. Let's talk some more about the awkward fingerings in this etude and how to plan for them. There are many accidentals in this etude, including several notes that we're not always used to reading. Be sure to know these fingerings and practice playing them accurately. Like the other clarinet etude for this year's Colorado All-State Ensembles audition, there are many instances in this etude when you have the option of flipping between two notes. Flipping is generally discouraged when playing the clarinet, though sometimes it is necessary. The reason is because it's often difficult to flip between two notes smoothly. Luckily, we have alternate fingering options to help reduce the level of difficulty. I have isolated a particularly tricky set of measures in this etude, measures 18 to 20, where using alternate fingerings will allow you to avoid the troubles that might come from flipping, as much as possible. I have labeled my own fingering suggestions. Feel free to pause the video now to write these into your part. If you're not familiar with how to finger the forked F sharp or the side F sharps that I'm referring to here, pay close attention to my demonstration, and I would encourage you to watch my instructional video for the other Colorado All-State Clarinet audition this year, where I demonstrate these fingering connections in more detail. Here's a demonstration of measures 18 to 20, played slowly and with the fingerings that I have suggested. No doubt, one of the challenges of playing this etude is the length of time between natural breathing spots. For context, you should know that these Rose etudes are actually based on oboe etudes composed by Franz Ferling, and due to the nature of oboe playing, they can generally play for a lot longer period of time compared to clarinetists. So don't feel bad. In this etude, when playing at quarter equals 108, you should be able to make it from the opening to measure 16. Take a deep, tension-free breath in the opening. And if you find that you cannot make it, then you can take a quick catch breath at the end of measure 10. In the second half of this audition excerpt, other breathing spots that may not feel natural to you might also be necessary to allow you to play with ease and to use the great tone that we spoke about earlier. You'll notice in my upcoming performance that I've chosen to demonstrate breathing spots in measures 25 and 29. You can use these as a guide. You can breathe in either spot or both if needed. One final technique that I would like to show you in this video, one that will make it easier to play clearly and with flow in this etude, is one I call playing finger first. And for this, I'm going to refer you to a very detailed explanation, an example from my All-State instructional video from a few years back on Rose's Etude number 26. Click on the link that appears now on this screen, and it'll take you there. With the finger first technique, you'll be moving your fingers ahead of your tongue in order to sound the articulated and slurred notes clearly. Practice this technique slowly. You will find it particularly useful in measures 9 to 15 and measures 17 to 21. As a general note, be sure that you are using air to blow through the articulated notes in this etude. Blow through the articulations and not at them. Focus on this right away from the repeated notes in the opening 4 measures and throughout. Using good air and breath support will make a huge difference in whether the technical passage feels easy and whether these technical passages sound easy. Now, a word about playing with musicality and style. There are no dynamics written to this piece. My recommendation is that you take the allegro marking, meaning quick and lively, and use it to your advantage by playing with presence and with a full tone. Mezzo forte to a forte dynamic level is appropriate. This will allow you to play with good breath support more easily. The allegro marking should also inform your interpretation of this etude. To me, the etude sounds best when it's flowing, almost dance-like. To achieve this, it must sound easy to play. As discussed earlier, notes need to sound connected with one another to form a longer line. Your tone should also sound present and supported, but not tense or agitated. Add your own crescendos and decrescendos to add direction to the music. Consult your teachers for help with these ideas. It's been a pleasure sharing my thoughts on this etude. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comment section below or contact me via email. Also, please feel free to email any sound or video files if you'd like me to review them and offer suggestions. Good luck with your auditions. Today I'm going to discuss ways to help you to prepare for this year's Colorado All-State Band and Orchestra Audition. In this video, Rose's Etude number 13 will be our focus. When preparing for an audition, it's important to try and determine what the particular musical selection chosen is meant to highlight. Rose's Etude number 13 is marked Adagio non troppo, with an added espressivo indication in the first measure. These markings suggest that the etude is to be played slowly and with expression. Keep this in mind and practice with these characteristics during your entire preparation process. The All-State requirement this year is to perform the first 24 measures of this etude at quarter equals 63. It's clear then that this etude, compared to the other, is meant to highlight more of your tone and musicality. Let's go over some important and basic concepts to keep in mind when preparing this etude. Subdividing. For many, playing this etude evenly may be a possible first obstacle. Make sure to keep a steady eighth note subdivision going from the outset. This will allow you to place all of the notes in their accurate rhythmic position. Since you want to perform this piece at quarter equals 63, then have your metronome clicking at 126, which makes it eighth note equals 126. This is a good idea when you begin practicing, to practice even slower than this tempo marking. Use the metronome to keep you steady. While breathing and musicality will allow for stretching of the pulse, the eighth note subdivision should be kept relatively even. In this etude, be sure to play the triplet 16th note figures in measures 3, 5, and 6 evenly. The 3 16th notes subdivide into one eighth note click of the metronome. Also, be sure to differentiate between the dotted eighth note to 16th note rhythm when it appears in measures 12 and 15, and the double-dotted eighth note to 32nd note rhythm when it appears later in measures 17, 21, and 22. Playing these details accurately will make a big difference in your audition. Let's now talk about some of the tricky fingerings that you'll encounter in this etude. First, there are many accidentals in this etude, including several notes that we're not always used to reading. Remember that E sharps are played like F naturals. The A sharps are also B flats, and that the D sharps are E flats. These notes sound enharmonically to each other, respectively. Perhaps the most tricky part of this etude is the figure in measure 6. Unless you have a clarinet with an added E flat D sharp key on the left side like this, then you're going to encounter an issue in this measure. Let's take a look. Because the Rose etudes were originally written for oboe by Franz Ferling, sometimes we encounter really awkward fingerings that don't work well on the clarinet. If you're playing a standard B-flat clarinet without the added key on the left side, I recommend that you play the B natural, the second note, on the right side. You'll move next to playing the C sharp on the left side, allowing you to play the D sharp as you normally would with your right pinky finger. Playing in this manner means that you will need to slide between the first two notes. Although this is discouraged on the clarinet, it is necessary here. Luckily, the marking over the figure of staccatos under a slur will help you. This marking means that the notes should sound long, but that you should tongue and separate each. The momentary stoppage of sound will allow you to move your finger quickly from the D sharp to the B natural without any extraneous sounds. Here's an example. Now, there are many instances in this etude when you have the option of flipping between two notes. Like sliding between two notes, flipping is also generally discouraged when playing the clarinet, though sometimes it is necessary. The reason is because it's often difficult to flip between two notes smoothly. Luckily, you have alternate fingering options to help reduce the level of difficulty. Measures 13 and 14 have examples that I'd like to talk about. In measure 13, instead of flipping back and forth between the F sharp and the E sharp, like so, instead play the F sharp as a forked F sharp. You will have to then play the second F sharp with your middle finger in order to move to the C sharp without sliding your ring finger. So the figure will look and sound like this. Looking at measure 14 now, instead of flipping back and forth between the low F sharp to E sharp and then back to F sharp, like so, instead play the F sharp with the side keys. If you haven't used this fingering before, it's a very useful one to know. It's played with your thumb covering the back tone hole as you normally would when playing F natural, and then adding the two lowest side keys. Here's a demonstration of measure 14 using the side key fingering for F sharp. Notice how I've avoided flipping fingers, and the passage sounds smoothly. Finally, let's talk about playing this etude with style and in character. Achieving a lyrical character means that you need to use continuous breath support and air to connect notes within each phrase. Focus on how you play each phrase. Playing with your very best tone will also help to achieve a lyrical characteristic. Your breaths should be planned out and practiced. They should be silent so as not to detract from the music. And here's a tip. Pay attention to how the ends of your notes sound. We too often focus on the beginning and middle of notes, and then mentally move on to the beginning of the next note. There are not very many dynamic markings listed in this etude, other than the piano at the beginning and the mezzo forte at measure 20. But this doesn't mean that you cannot play at other dynamic levels, especially when shaping. As I spoke about briefly in the opening, this etude should be played evenly, but should not sound metronomic. After practicing with the metronome and feeling confident that you can play the rhythms with even pulse, turn off the metronome and begin to interpret the phrases, giving them shape and flow. Consult with your teachers for help. Have fun with your interpretation and make sure that you practice in a way that your habits show off the great tone and lyrical playing. It's been a pleasure sharing my thoughts on this etude. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments section below or contact me via email. Also, please feel free to email sound or video files if you'd like me to review them and offer any suggestions. Good luck with your auditions.